The Toronto Blue Jays finished 2024 as one of the most disappointing teams in baseball at just 74 wins, and with big names like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bichette a season away from free agency, it's looking like make or break in Toronto. To give it one last go, the team brought in a slew of talent, have some prospects on the rise, and are hopeful for some rebound seasons. And today we'll look at all that and more in the Toronto Blue Jays 2025 season preview. The Blue Jays made one of the biggest trades of the offseason, acquiring Andres Jimenez and Nick Sandlin on December 10th in exchange for Spencer Horwitz and Nick Mitchell. The Guardians were looking to salary dump Jimenez, whose deal does get staggeringly high towards the later years of it. However, if the Blue Jays can get the 2022 version of Jimenez, it'll all be worth it because in that year, Jimenez actually hit. He had an 837 OPS with 17 homers, which doesn't sound like mind numbing numbers, but when you factor in his ridiculous defense, it makes the player also valuable. For what the Blue Jays gave up, the headliner had to be Horwitz, who instantly got flipped to the Pirates after the deal. Horwitz actually found a nice niche as a platoon first baseman, crushing righties when the opportunity presented itself. A nice player to have on the roster, but in an all in year, sacrifices had to be made. However, the team didn't stop there, grabbing one of the headliner relievers in the free agent class, Jeff Hoffman. Last season for the Phillies, Hoffman posted a 2.17 ERA across 68 appearances and revitalized his career in the process. There were some issues with other teams regarding his physical, so that is certainly something to keep an eye on, especially considering they gave the righty a 3-year deal, which inherently comes with its own risks with relievers. Then 10 days later, the Blue Jays grabbed Anthony Santander on a 5-year deal. Last season, Santander was incredible, slugging 44 homers and posted numerous career highs. Again, this is a contract that comes with its inherent risks. Based off this batted ball data, I wouldn't suspect Santander to be getting to those home run totals again, and 44 will remain his career high. The Blue Jays took the deferred money approach with this deal, so the immediate burden won't be as bad, and if he can continue to produce close to the level he did last season, it can pay off well. For the rest of the additions, the team buffed up the pitching staff with the additions of Yimi Garcia, Josh Walker, and Max Scherzer. Despite Scherzer's pedigree, the return of Garcia might honestly be the best of the rest signings. During his previous tenure in Toronto and a brief stint in Seattle, Garcia posted a 3.58 ERA across 173 appearances and will be a really solid addition back to the bullpen. For losses, the team lost some of the bullpen pieces in the form of Jordan Romano, Dylan Tate, and Genesis Cabrera. The name that people will most likely latch onto is Romano, as he is a two-time All-Star from 2022 and 2023. But he recently had struggles in 2024, and it became a situation where he could earn too much through arbitration for what his value was worth. And that's going to leave the current roster as Alejandro Kirk behind the dish, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at first, Andres Jimenez at second, Bichette at short, and Ernie Clement at third. Anthony Santander starting in left, with Nathan Lukes as the current projected center fielder to platoon with Miles Straw in the wake of Dalton Varsho's injury. George Springer is projected to start in right, with Will Wagner projected to share the DH role with Davis Schneider. Joining the rest of the positional players is Tyler Heineman as the backup catcher and Leo Jimenez as an additional infielder. Compared to the other teams in this series, this team actually has a decent floor at almost every position with some clear strengths at first and second base. The rotation is currently projected to be Kevin Gausman and Jose Barrios at the top, with Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer, and Bowden Francis bringing up the back end. There are some big names attached to this rotation, but Zips doesn't love the unit with a 4+ ERA projected from 3 of the players. A middling bullpen is to be expected from Zips as well, with a big year from Hoffman. As for potential players that could break past the projections, it has to be Nathan Lukes, who, as previously mentioned, will get his time in the sun if Varsho is not able to go by opening day. In a very limited sample, Lukes has proven his ability to crush right-handers and has done a great job with the walks and strikeouts. While he should be in one of the corners long term, this opportunity will give him a chance to make a name for himself and cement a larger role on the team over the course of the season. As for impactful prospects, the big name on the offensive side is Elvis Martinez, who very well might not even be a prospect if not for his PED suspension last year. Before that, Martinez was mashing in AAA with an 869 OPS and 17 homers in just 74 games. That production's come from his 60 grade power that he used to crank 58 homers in the 2 seasons prior. Defensively, he is a bit of a quirky prospect as he was drafted as a shortstop, moved to third due to his lack of foot speed and strong arm, but then made a second baseman to adjust further for that poor foot speed. If he wants to crack the major league roster, you would imagine the best chance would be at third, but either way, it'll be off the back of his power. On the pitching side of things, I would love to include Ricky Tiedemann, but unfortunately he will miss most of the season, so we have to turn our attention to Jake Bloss, who the Blue Jays acquired in the Yusei Kikuchi trade. Bloss was tearing up the minor leagues prior to his major league debut with the Astros, but it wasn't a great look at the major league level. He had a 6.94 ERA across 3 games and was then traded. Then, after the trade, he really struggled at the AAA level for the Buffalo Bisons, but let's not forget what this guy brings to the table. He has a really good repertoire with a plus fastball, curveball, and slider, and has decent control as well. If he can rebound, he can certainly force his way into the rotation in the wake of injury or trade. If everything has gone awry by the time the trade deadline rolls around, then this team could be due for a massive fire sale. We have all heard about Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and the fumbling the organization has done by not re signing the franchise cornerstone. But there's also names like Bo Bichette, Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer, Shane Green, Eric Swanson, and Josh Walker, who are all players with contracts that end at the conclusion of the season, while names like Kevin Gosman and Yimi Garcia's deals end in 2026. For injuries, the Blue Jays have already piled up a few, with Dalton Varsho at risk of missing opening day, Alek Manoah not returning till late in 2025, the same as Angel Bastardo. Adam Mako is another prospect that would be on the radar, but he tore his meniscus this spring and the timeline is unclear. For the predictions for this team, there's a wide range of possibilities. For the floor where everything goes wrong and the teams end up selling, it'll probably be close to where they finished last season at 74 and 88. Players like Boba Fett are bound to bounce back, and additions like Andres Jimenez really raise the floor, but a mass sell off could leave this team in a free fall. If everything goes perfectly and the team really clicks, the team could finish as a 90-win club and squarely in the playoff picture. And then there's a mixed bag. Realistically, this team is better than last season and should see a bounce back, but they're still in a tough division with four, maybe five good teams, and that's going to be tough to fight through. And with that, I have them finishing 82 and 80.